Well, thanks for taking the time, Charlie. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's a pleasure.
I did my homework on you before we get started, and I know you're a big ABBA fan.
I am.
Not many people mention that. So
Not only an ABBA fan, but you know, they wrote a chapter about me in their book.
I do know that.
Yes.
So I got you something, and I'll give it to you. You can take it later, but...
Oh.
So I'll leave that here, but I know you are a big ABBA fan.
Thanks, Sam. That's lovely.
Tell us about ABBA. I heard once you played it during a surgery that you had as well.
Yes, I had a little boy from Stockholm come out to Australia with a very nasty brain tumour, and his surgeon from Stockholm came with him to support him. Lovely man. The operation took me 11 hours.
Yep.
And as I was finishing, the neurosurgeon from Stockholm said, "Do you want me to speak to the family?" I said, "Yeah, that's very nice." So he went out, tells the family that the operation's gone well, and it's over with. And he said, "By the way, you might be interested to know that Charlie listened to ABBA for the entire 11 hours. And I did. And they go, "Oh my goodness, well, I'm Benny's godson."
Yep.
And I'd be very happy to introduce Charlie to ABBA one day if he ever wants to. And so that's how I got to meet ABBA.
Wow.
Because I operated on the son of Benny's godson. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, before getting into everything, you done a mechanic apprenticeship at one point, and then I think you opened up an acupuncture clinic at some point as well. You're a black belt in karate.
Yes, all of the above.
All of the above, and then you become the world's best neurosurgeon. How does that even happen?
Well, it's very kind of you to say that, but okay, well, I guess it's because I matured very slowly and very late. And whereas other people knew exactly what they wanted to do at a young age, I was still floundering about what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a bouncer, a security officer, a garbage man. There was a million things I wanted to be. And most people have that as children. Then by the time they get to teenage years, they're pretty sure about what they wanted to do. And I wasn't. I got a pretty good mark in my HSC, could have done medicine, but I loved dabbling around my hands, and I'd bought a motorbike at the time. So I decided I wanted to be a motor mechanic, and I started an apprenticeship as a motor mechanic, was treated with zero respect, and thought, oh, hang on, there's got to be a job where at least I can get treated with some respect. And I got into medicine, so I thought, oh, well, I'll just do medicine. And then I didn't actually enjoy medicine that much. I didn't really get into it until I did neurosurgery. And then once I did neurosurgery, I found my calling then.
Yep. And the acupuncture clinic, did you really run an acupuncture?
Yes, I did. I ran the acupuncture clinic at Concord Hospital. I did acupuncture all through medicine because I wanted to sort of respect my ancestry and accept the fact that there was a role for acupuncture. I found there was. And I thought, yeah, it would be good to incorporate holistic and alternative treatments in my management of patients with medical problems.
Yep.
At the same time, I had also given lectures to the chiropractic college, Australian Chiropractic College, and mind you, they didn't like that. But nevertheless, I knew there was also a role for chiropractic, and I would refer patients to chiropractors and osteopaths. And so a very, very holistic mentality, even as a young doctor.
Yep. And do you still practice karate, or you've stopped that now?
So I got my black belt in karate. I was a bouncer all through university, worked as a bouncer at Centrepoint Tavern and at certain college balls. Made a good living, loved it, and kept practicing karate for years and years thereafter. But it was pounding a punching bag, and I knew that would end up with bad arthritis in my hands, so I sort of wound down, and I lost the testosterone of wanting to beat people up all the time, so and became more of a pacifist. I still work out, but no, I don't have the suppleness, and I don't have the skills that I used to have.
Your story sounds a bit like mine. I went into uni, I'd done medical science, had no idea what I wanted to do, and then I just fell into the career that I did. I'd done a bit of security work as well, and I'd done some bouncing in the city for a while, and same sort of conclusion in the end.
I don't think you have to be a pugilist, but you certainly have to enjoy a bit of biffo. And when I was young, I really loved biffo. I just like getting into a fight and teaching bad guys a lesson. and stuff. But now it's almost like I'd rather befriend them, you know, and try.
The more clever approach.
Yeah, the clever approach.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you've had your hands in more brains than probably anyone on planet Earth.
Yes.
What do you know about what makes us human that other people don't?
Well, I can answer that very clearly. We don't know. I can really say that. I mean, we've made huge advances in the study of the human brain. The Human Connectome project that was published in Nature in 2016 really brought us several steps closer to understanding the human brain.
Yep.
But there are parts of the human brain like the soul,
Yep.
and placebo, and you know, those sorts of things. We have no idea which parts of the brain control those things, or if indeed the brain controls them. And
Yep.
so,
Do you think we'll ever find out?
oh yeah,
Yeah?
yeah. It's the tip of the iceberg that we know at the moment. But yes, with more research, time, supercomputers, AI, ML, I think we'll get there. We'll start understanding the human brain more.
Yep. You've talked about things like the brain health crisis, and I think you said that the leading cause of death for women at the moment is dementia.
Yes.
What do you think is the cause of this, and how do we fix it?
Well, you know, I'd be the Nobel Prize winner if I could tell you that answer. So I'll give you my theories and my interpretation of the literature. And you're a scientist, I'm sure you understand that, you know, for every person who comes up with a theory, there's always some literature to support it and literature to refute it.
Yep.
So I'm not saying that I know, I simply can tell you that I've thought about it long and hard, and I've read the literature. And so my daughter has told me that I'm wrong, but that's what daughters are for. But my interpretation of the literature is that a lot of it is genetic, and that you know, some conditions are autosomal dominant, they're passed down, others aren't autosomal dominant, others aren't even hereditary, but it's all in the genes. Now sure, environment plays some role, that nature and nurture thing, you know, nurture plays some role, and the way you treat yourself certainly plays a role, but sadly a lot of it is not determined by the way we treat ourselves, but determined by our very nature and our genetic makeup. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying more so genetics as opposed to lifestyle or environmental things?
Well, again, according to my daughter, the literature is swinging the other way, but when I read the literature more than 5-10 years ago, sure, the literature was actually supporting more a nature thing than a nurture thing.
And so those other factors, like lifestyle factors, what are they?
Oh, they all play a role. So I'm not denying they don't play a role.
Yep.
I'm just saying they may not play the dominant role, that's all.
Okay.
And those things, well, you can put them under headings. So the first is, you know, maintaining brain health. And how do you maintain brain health? Well, you've got to get rid of free radicals. How do you get rid of free radicals? Well, there's all this list of ways you can get rid of free radicals.
Yep.
The next list is, you know, don't damage your brain. Well, how do you not damage your brain? Well, you don't get a head injury, you don't take neurotoxins, you don't expose yourself to neurotoxins, you reduce your plastic intake, and, you know, there's a million other things. And the next is the brain-gut axis, which we weren't even talking about 10 years ago.
Yep.
But it turns out that we should have been, and vets, for example, have been talking about it for ages. And so there's a direct bidirectional axis between our brain and our gut. And so the gut microbiome, in other words, your bacteria in your gut, it turns out to be very influential on brain health. And again, we didn't know this. Well, there were great men like Tom Brody who actually told us about it 30 years ago, but people didn't believe him.
Yep.
And he was hoo-haed by the medical fraternity. He was called a charlatan on ABC TV. But, you know, if Tom was alive now, I'd love for him to see that the whole world has changed, and we're starting to believe that he was right and we were wrong.
Yeah, a lot more people are talking about that for sure when it comes to like the mind-body connection and brain-gut health. And if your gut isn't well, then you might be stressed or anxious in the mind,
And vice
versa.
Vice versa.
My next question was going to be, and I think you've answered it, but if there was a percentage you had to put in terms of how much of dementia and brain cognition and decline in brain cognition has got to do with genetics as opposed to lifestyle factors, what would you say at the moment?
Well, again, let me just preempt by saying I'm not an expert.
Yep.
You said I'm an expert because I've been inside people's brains, and I have, but I'm not an expert on dementia. Okay? I've been exposed enough to the literature, I've been exposed enough to patients with dementia to make some learned comment, but I'm not an expert. And my learned comment is that sadly, genes play a big role in it. And so I would say it's probably more than 50%.
Okay.
So let's say I'm picking this figure out of the air, say it's 60%, then 40% is all about lifestyle and how we treat our brains, and 60% unfortunately is predetermined.
What about diet?
That's part of the 40%.
That's part of the 40%.
Yeah.
Yep. Is there a preferred diet you think that people should be focusing on?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
It's a vegan diet.
You're a vegan?
Yes, I'm a vegan. I mean, I have lapses of lack of discipline sometimes, but I try and be vegan 100% of the time.
Okay.
And so what does that mean? It means that there are 3 very good reasons why veganism is something that should be adopted by the entire planet. The first is that it's good for you, and so no one denies that. The literature supports it. Vegan diet is the only diet that's been shown to reverse heart disease, for example. Others can stave it off and reduce your incidence, but the vegan diet can actually reverse, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. So it's good for you. The next thing is that it's good for the planet. So it turns out that a lot of the carbon emissions are produced by the animal industries. And, you know, for example, how much water does it take to create 1 kilogram of beef? Like 20,000 litres. Yeah. 20,000 litres of water is required to produce 1 kilogram of beef for our consumption. How much land has to be destroyed and how many plants have to be cultivated to feed an animal? Well, it's 8 times the amount that it takes to feed a person. So you can feed 8 times the human population if you cut out the middleman, i.e. animals. So that's one thing. And then the third thing is it's good for animals. And so we have denied that animals are sentient beings for centuries and centuries, but you know, the literature is very clear now. And I can even tell you from my own personal brain mapping, you can do brain maps on animals and find that they've got the same networks in their brain as a human. So we used to say the 3 networks in the brain that were unique to humans were the central executive network, the default mode network, and the salience network. And they're the things that control things like pleasure, imagination, empathy. Well, it turns out that dogs have those 3 networks.
Oh, really?
So not only are they sentient, but they have the same networks in their brain that control emotions as we have. Pigs do as well. And so I'm sure that all animals have some degree of sentience. In other words, feelings and emotions. So, you know, to kill an animal is very speciesism. It's basically saying that humans have the right to kill another sentient being. And we don't have that right. They have just as much right to be alive as we have to be alive. Sorry, so I rambled on a little bit.
That's fascinating.
Diet. And not only that, look, okay, so this is what happened to me. I did Kokoda trail. So to do the Kokoda track, I had to prove that I was medically fit. So they insist you go and have a medical examination. That includes cardiac examination, all this kind of stuff. And I found out that I had pre-diabetes, I had a lesion in my LAD, left anterior descending artery in my heart, and I had high cholesterol and a bad ratio of high triglycerides versus low density lipoproteins. So I was a walking time bomb. Both parents have had heart disease. Both parents have had, my father died of a heart attack. My mother is in a nursing home from a heart condition. And so I was a sitting time bomb. Anyway, so I went and had all these. I saw the cardiologist. He puts me on Lipitor. He puts me on blood thinners. He does all this sort of stuff. And I hate medications, so I choose not to take them. And instead, I thought, well, hang on, I'll just change my diet. And I became vegetarian, not vegan. And then I met my partner, Tracy, and she's not just a vegan, she's a militant vegan. And so if I wanted to kiss her, for example, I couldn't have eaten meat or any meat product. So I went vegan with her.
It's good motivation to go.
Yeah, good motivation. Anyway, I go back and see the cardiologist 8 years later. The LAD lesion's gone.
Wow.
Just disappeared. And he goes, see, I told you those medications work well. I go, Greg, I never took the medications. I just went vegan. He went silent, kept writing his notes. And so diabetes, gone. Heberdin's nodes, arthritis in my hand, gone. Cholesterol, gone. HDL to LDL, completely changed. And I promise you, I didn't do anything different than change my diet.
Wow.
Didn't go on any medications. Sure, maybe I exercised a little bit more, but essentially it's changed my diet.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So what about supplements then? You talked about medication. Are there any supplements that we should be taking?
Vegans need to take B12.
B12.
Yeah. So you know what B12 is from? B12 is from, volcanoes.
Yep.
And so the B12 gets in the soil, and so when an animal eats soil-covered food,
It goes into
they
them.
produce, they get B12, and then we eat the animal and we get B12 from the animal. We used to get it from vegetables. Vegetables are clean now.
Yep.
They're all cleaned. So yes, so sadly a vegan has to take a B12 supplement or they'll get anemia.
Yep.
But that's it. Apart from that, you don't need to take any essential vitamins. Apart from that, you don't have to take any other proteins or fats, essential fatty acids, nothing like that. It's only B12.
Okay. So what about all this talk about getting an adequate amount of protein in your diet?
Sam,
What do you think of
you
that?
know the literature on that. You're just asking me to probe me. Okay, so it goes like this. Your daily needs of protein is 40 grams a day. The average Australian diet is 60 to 80 grams a day.
Yep.
So we consume twice as much protein as we actually need, firstly. And secondly, once you do your research, you'll find that, in fact, most veggies have a huge amount of protein. And if you're not getting your protein from vegetables, then all you've got to do is supplement it with nuts, legumes, soy, things like that, and that gives you as much protein as you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you look great, so you're doing something right in the diet.
Strongest man in the world.
Yeah, there you go.
Strongest man in the world is a vegan.
I've seen that.
Schwarzenegger's a vegan.
Yeah.
Novak Djokovic is a vegan.
Yep.
My fiance Tracy, she's a vegan, and she looks 28 and she's 52.
Yep.
And she's fit as.
You were saying she does a lot of exercise and she's running still, and
well, yeah, but a lot of people do that. They don't look as good as her.
Yeah.
It's the veganism.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the veganism. So, it's very important, I think, what you eat. And if you can cut down your meat products, and it's very hard. I'm not going to say it's easy.
Yeah.
A lot of lifestyle things are around food. And when I have a bad moment and I consume a bit of meat, it's always at some dinner party where they're serving meat and I pick up something or I get a craving for fish sauce, or I get a craving for something, or a prawn. I don't get cravings for beef or pork anymore,
Okay.
or chicken. I just get cravings for seafood occasionally.
Okay.
So look, I'm not saying it's easy. It's very difficult. There's a lot of pressure.
Yep.
There's a lot of fake news out there saying that you got to eat this and you got to eat that. And it's a poor old public. I really feel sorry for them, because one minute they're told that a vegan diet's good, next minute they're told that a meat diet's good.
Well, that's right. You hear it all the time. There's so much
all
controversy.
The time. You hear it all the time, and everyone's pushing their own agenda. So again, I don't blame people if they don't believe me. I'm not forcing anyone to do it, but I'm telling you, I did it, and I got rid of my heart disease, I got rid of my diabetes.
Yep.
And
I think you're right. I think there's always an agenda. I think the supplement industry itself largely is a big scam. And then there's a carnivore diet, and then you hear about the keto diet.
There's always some agenda. If you look at the sponsors of the Australian Heart Foundations, Diabetes Foundations, this foundation, that foundation, there's always some meat industry or something that's unfortunately got a conflict of interest in there.
I'll pivot a little bit then, Charlie. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and a lot of people are experiencing a lot of mental disorders and issues. There's a lot of chronic stress happening at the moment. What does stress and those sort of things, what does that do to the brain?
Oh, again, I was not learned. I was very blinkered in my approach to the brain, and I just basically went to university and trusted everything I read and heard about at university and was taught by my professors. And one of the greatest things I ever did was go to a lecture by a neurosurgeon from Toronto or Vancouver, a guy called Paul Steinbock. And Paul gave a talk on how we need to challenge dogma. Well, I'd never heard this concept verbalized before. I mean, I always understood that you've got to, don't trust everything you hear and all that kind of stuff, but he gave this great lecture on challenging dogma. And from that moment on, I realized that, maybe some of the stuff that I thought was set in stone, that I thought was gospel, may not be gospel.
Uh-huh.
And so I started challenging dogma. And when I started challenging dogma, I realized that in fact there was so much that I did not understand about the human brain and health in general.
Yep.
And now I go to lectures by integrative GPs and alternative doctors, and I realize, oh my God, I've been ignorant for so many years. And if I can incorporate some of that knowledge now into the care of my patients, it's going to be all the better.
Do you think medicine will ever head in that direction, where it's an integrative approach or a holistic approach? You see some companies opening up right now where they incorporate everything within their practice. So somebody walks in, they say, this is what you've got to do now so you don't end up like this in 30 or 20 or 30 years from now.
Well, if I was the eternal optimist, of course I'd say yes, and I'm hopeful that will happen.
Uh-huh.
But as you know, I've been jaded and persecuted by, the status quo.
Yep.
And governing bodies and conservative doctors. And it saddens me that if it does happen, it's going to be a long, long road.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the moment, you don't even know this, and I don't know the numbers, but there are hundreds of doctors being persecuted for thinking outside the box. And I'm talking, I'll just give you one example.
Yep.
An orthopedic surgeon has the gall to recommend a diet to a patient who came in for a hip transplant. And she was overweight, so he goes, listen, you need to go on this diet, lose weight, and I may not have to give you a hip transplant. He's such a good doctor and such a nice person. His patients loved him, so his colleagues had to attack him because they were taking business away from him.
Yeah, right.
And they reported him for giving nutritional advice to a patient without qualifications. And guess what? They took his license off him. 8 years later, he's fighting to get his license back.
You're kidding.
8 years later, no income, loss of reputation.
Far out.
Because he had the gall to give nutritional advice to someone and he didn't have nutritional qualifications. It is absolutely no different to what happened to me.
Yep.
And I had the gall to respect patient autonomy and offer an operation to a patient that no one else offered them. And look what's happened to me. So, yes, I'd love it to become the norm, and I'd love for all doctors to have a comprehensive and holistic education on nutrition and all the other things that work, things like red light, sound therapy, breath work, all these things work, but we're not taught. Not only are we not taught about them, but we're told to reject them because they're non-scientific and there's no EBM, evidence-based medicine, behind them.
Yep.
And so, with that sort of philosophy, is there ever going to be evidence-based medicine behind them if we keep rejecting them and not accepting that there may be a role for those things? And I hate to say this, but someone brought up conspiracy theory earlier, so let me just bring it up again. So, when people say to me, why have they attacked you, Charlie? What is it that you've done? My standard response is, well, I don't know, maybe it's because I've just got such a big mouth, or maybe they don't like the fact that I had a high profile. But one person said, well, Charlie, it could be the big pharma companies that are behind it because you wrote a paper on the benefit of CBD oil for brain cancer patients. And I did, and I must say that the animosity and the absolute hatred I received after writing that letter absolutely shocked me. Friends of mine who had cared for patients with me for 20 years suddenly became my enemy because I wrote this paper about CBD oil. And someone said, do you think maybe Big Pharma's behind this? And Big Pharma got, had to destroy you because you were going to take business away from them. And I go, no. But now, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows, Sam?
Yeah, that's right. Who knows?
Yeah.
Look, enough of that negativity, because I don't think we're ever going to change that part of medicine. I think it's going to, like you said, it's going to be a long road ahead.
It's in Wikipedia.
Yeah. So
If you look up the definition of bullying in Wikipedia, the first subset is medical bullying.
oh, really?
It's part of the
There you go.
narrative. It's part of
Yep.
the culture. It'll
Yep.
always be there. And you're right. If you let it destroy you, then well, if you let it define you, it'll destroy you.
Yep.
So you've got to rise above it. And yeah.
We're in your beautiful practice here now, and you've gone from operating on people on the table, and now you're using AI to map their brains and then operate on them without a scalpel, I guess.
Yes.
What is Cingulum, and what do you hope to achieve here?
Cingulum's a company that has decided to take the best of both worlds. So the best of the scientific world are these maps, based on machine learning and AI. This company have generated maps of the brain that can show you areas of the brain that may be functioning abnormally, not structurally abnormal, but functionally abnormal. And they've got these very, very comprehensive patient-specific maps now. So that's very scientific. It's all based on computer data crunching and all that kind of stuff. And then they've also gone to the other side and said, let's look at the literature and let's look at all the different components that are around that may improve brain health. And so they found things like red light, breath work, cryotherapy, HBOT, relaxation therapy, sound therapy, you know, all these sort of things that I personally used to think were a bit woohoo.
Yep.
And were very dismissive of them. But if you look at the literature behind them and the anecdotes behind them, they work.
Yep.
Some of them work, and some of them work very well, better than Western medicine. And so to have a clinic that incorporates that integrative approach, the holistic approach, and science is what Cingulum stands for. You know, we don't want to be considered woohoo, so we're going to put science behind it. We're going to treat patients and collect the database and then publish in peer-reviewed journal articles. And they've done that incredibly successfully. And it wasn't me, it was a lot of other people that basically said, you know, this is the way we want the clinic to run.
Yep.
We want it to look nice for a starter because we don't want people to walk into an environment of illness. We want them to walk into an environment of wellness because that matters. And again, look up the literature and it does matter.
It does.
It actually is shown. We want it to smell nice, and I would never have thought about that. And it turns out that yes, scents can influence brain health.
Yep.
And you know, it goes on from there. And we want to have this very, very comprehensive, holistic, integrative approach to all patients that walk in the door, whether they've got a mental health issue or a neurological issue.
Yep. You were showing me some scans just before we sat down here of what somebody's brain looks like prior to the treatment that they receive here,
Yes.
The TMS treatment that you guys do, and it's remarkable. Like you see somebody's brain and how it used to look, and then after, I think you said 10 weeks of treatment, and how it looks afterwards.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like a no-brainer. Like people should be doing this if they have issues of depression or anxiety or PTSD maybe.
Yeah. No, you can't lie about objective science, and it's all very objective. You can't put imagination into those scans. They either look good or don't look good. So yeah, the interventions we use here, mostly TMS, but any intervention that helps brain health can be now shown to be effective or not effective, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because it used to be that we assess these patients based on questionnaires with a very, very variable and very subjective, dependent on if your first language is English or not, and you know, all these sorts of things. So, so to have actually a study that can now show you objectively whether someone has had effective treatment or not is a huge leap forward, and that's what we can do here at Cingulum.
How long before this becomes mainstream, or like other health professionals start using
it? It is becoming mainstream around the world now.
Okay.
So Cingulum has published over 20 peer-reviewed journal articles. They've been read by some of the best scholars in the world, like a couple of Harvard graduates from America. They then rang us up and said, you're doing amazing things, we want you to replicate that in America. So Cingulum has now gone to America and opened up in America.
Yep.
The same thing happened in Switzerland. We've got a Cingulum clinic in Switzerland. And so the whole world is starting to realise that actually this is the way to go. Australia will be sadly a little bit behind because I've got so many people who hate me, and sadly that influences the way they adopt new techniques and new theories and stuff, because the politics takes over from patient care. But one day, look, you can never be a prophet in your own land. I knew that. And it will be adopted in Australia eventually, but it'll be a bit slower than the rest of the world, I think.
I think we're always a bit late to the party.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, Australia is geographically isolated, but we've got some brilliant minds here.
Yep.
We've got amazing resources. It's a wealthy country. It's got great people. But unfortunately, it's in a bit of quagmire at the moment because it's everything's stilted from regulation, over-regulation, being PC, all that sort of stuff. It's sort of overtaken common sense almost. And so you go to a country like China where they have no concept of PC or wokeness or anything like that, and it's almost like, oh my God, it's like 100 years ago where they just get the job done. They don't worry about offending someone or doing this or doing that. They actually just get the job done.
Yep.
And that's what we need more of. We need more of that sort of mentality of, let's get the big picture here. Let's not get bogged down in sort of, the
stuff that doesn't really matter.
The stuff that doesn't really matter, Sam.
Yep. So you've raised $53 million, I think, in brain cancer research.
$51 million
51.
Through three vehicles. The first vehicle was Cure for Life Foundation. The second was the Cure Brain Cancer Foundation. And the third is the Charlie Teo Foundation. And if you add it all up, it's over $50 million that I've raised with my own efforts.
Yeah, which is a great feat in itself, really. And I think 3 months every year for the past 30 years, you've been doing pro bono surgeries overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's even more now.
And it's even more now. And you've created or founded the backbone of brain cancer research in Australia. What's next for Dr. Charlie Teo?
Look, I'd like to live out my last few years being left alone, actually.
Yeah.
All I want is to help people. That's all. I'm not good at record keeping. I'm not good at communicating with other doctors. But I love patients, and I love looking after people, and I love helping them. And wouldn't it be great if I could spend the next 10 years before I get too old just looking after people and doing what I do best? I've been given this great talent.
Yep.
And I know that sounds incredibly sort of boastful, but I'm really, really good at what I do. And it's a talent that I think I shouldn't waste. And I'd love to be left alone. I really would. Just let me look after patients. And, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not good at paperwork, and I'm not good at diplomacy, and I'm not good at keeping my mouth shut. And, I don't tolerate fools well. I certainly don't perform in MDTs well.
Yep.
So in multidisciplinary team meetings, I'm terrible, because you've got to listen to some person who is weak, spineless, with poor knowledge, say, I don't think you should do that tumour. And instead of showing a bit of diplomacy and saying, yes, no, you're right, let me think about it, I go, you're a fucking idiot. And so I'm not good at those things, but why do I have to be good at those things when I'm good at looking after patients?
Yep.
And I guess that's what I'd love. I'd love to be left alone. Yeah.
Will you be operating for the next 10 years, do you think? Is that the hope? Well,
the sad thing about that is that a lot of doctors operate for longer than they should. And I've personally seen surgeons who really should have hung up their gloves years before. And they're not good, but they don't have insight. So I hope that I surround myself with people who aren't sycophants, who will actually tell me, Charlie, it's time to hang up your gloves. And at this stage, that's not happening. And believe me, I ask all the time.
Is that a precision thing, like while you're doing surgery, or is it?
It's more than that. It's patient selection, it's patient care, it's the actual operations, it's all of it put together. You've got to be on your ball. You've got to be on your game. You've got to be really good, focused, and staying up to date with the latest literature and the latest technology. And that takes a lot of effort. And if I'm not doing that, I want someone to tell me. But yeah, look, while I'm getting great results and no one's telling me I should retire, I'd love to keep operating
Yep.
for the next few years. Yeah.
So one thing that people listening to the conversation can do differently tomorrow morning, what would you give them as a piece of advice?
Oh. Can I only say one thing, can I?
You can tell me more than one thing, for sure.
Oh.
Give me a couple.
Okay, so number one is always challenge dogma.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be stuck in our ways unless we challenge dogma. So always challenge dogma. So if someone tells you that, that bolt has to go into that nut right there, well, does it? Challenge it. It might have to, but challenge it. It's the first thing. The second thing is, there used to be a saying that said you only should believe half of what you hear and none of what... So, half of what you see and none of what you hear. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Don't believe anything that you hear and only half of what you see.
Yep.
And now it's don't believe anything. I guess in the same vein as challenge dogma, but having been the brunt of persecution by the media, I can tell you now that they can make up lies. So they don't just have the truth and they can twist the truth. They can actually make up a lie and you have no recourse apart from suing them. And that takes millions of dollars and time and effort and emotional energy. So basically they can do whatever they want.
Yep.
So every time I read an article in the paper or see something in the news now, I challenge it. I just say, hang on, that may not be true. There's always two sides to every story. And that's the next thing I'd like to tell people. The next thing is that virtually every organ in the body can be replaced except for the brain and spinal cord. So sure, go to these wellness centres, do this and do that for your skin to keep it tight, improve your this and improve your that. But the one thing you've got to do is keep your brain as healthy as you can for as long as you can. I just told you that a lot of it's genetic, but a significant portion is how you treat yourself.
Yep.
So reduce your toxins, in other words, don't drink alcohol. Reduce your brain injuries, in other words, wear a helmet. Sleep 6 to 8 hours a night. Reduce your stress, whatever your stress is that's causing your brain not to be healthy. Eat well, try and go vegan. And then the final thing is, I had the benefit of spending several hours with the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
It was a great experience because, I don't know if you've met him, but if you meet him, you think to yourself, well, hang on, this guy's just a lovely old guy.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're in the presence of deity, and he does that purposely. He disarms you a little bit, but he is a wise man who's been around and he's been persecuted, as you know, by many different governing bodies. And I said to him once, he said to me, he goes, what is it that the world needs more of? Or what is it that will bring you happiness? And I started getting philosophical, and I said, you've got to leave the world in a better place than you found it, and all these sorts of things. And he goes, no. And then I go, love, and he goes, no. And he goes, it's kindness. Mm-hmm. And he goes, look, we've got enough of love, thank you very much. Love can, someone who likes killing people loves killing people, so we don't need love. And not only that, there's a negative side of that, but there's no negative side to kindness. And so when you hear the world going a little bit crazy, people killing people, people hating people just because of the colour of the skin or the religion that they believe in, just step back a little bit and show a bit of kindness and treat people the way you would want to be treated. Yep. And I think if everyone did that, I think the world would be a better place. I don't think I'd be in the situation I'm in now.
I don't think you would.
If the journalists who persecuted and targeted me, if she just sat back and said, listen, by destroying this man, I'm going to kill a lot of people. Yep. And a lot of people are going to die without his services. And so maybe I should show a bit of kindness. But
I think that's
she didn't.
I think that's a very strong message, and we say it all the time in our practice. Treat every patient you see like it's your own family member.
Yes.
And I think that comes back to kindness and being kind to people, and,
Yeah.
and you're treating them the same way you'd like to be treated as well.
Yes.
My final question, probably the most important one.
That was your final question, though.
I've got one more.
Oh, okay.
Which ABBA song best describes your life right now?
So when I was with Benny, and in his house, in front of his grand piano, he goes, "Do you want to have a sing-along?"
Yeah.
I go, what the fuck? As if I'm going to say no, sing along to ABBA,
Yeah.
with ABBA. And he goes, "Okay, what song would you like to pick?" And I go, "Thank you for the music." Because that's what I want to thank them for. Their music has brought so much joy and happiness to the world. I want to thank them for their music. And, you know, when you think about it, their music is just as important as, say, a surgeon saving lives. I mean, if you can bring happiness to people with music, that will save lives.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I want all those people who bring joy to people. I was once told by an artist, you know, "Well, I don't do what you do, I don't save lives." Well, yes you do. By bringing beauty to the world, by bringing happiness to people, you're saving as many lives as I'm saving. I just do it, you know, with my hands. You're doing it with your skills and your artistry. And so, yeah, thank you for the music.
Thank you for the music. Good. That's a good way to end. Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.